ACC Kickoff is officially underway. Kenton has boots on the ground. I will be joining him down in Charlotte on Thursday. Jim Phillips kicked us off on Tuesday. We have some thoughts. Here we go.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Tuesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton has boots on the ground all week this week for ACC Kickoff in Charlotte. I will be hitting the road and joining him down there on Thursday for NC State's portion of the week. But this morning, on Tuesday morning, ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips gave his thoughts on the status of the ACC, some thoughts on how they compare to the SEC, a couple of rule changes, this, that, and the third. So, Kenton, I'll kick it to you first. Give me your overall feeling that you get from Jim Phillips kicking it off this morning.
You know, Jim Phillips is looking forward. I think that he looks back at, you know, everything that happened with the settlements and all that, and they may not have been favorable and whatnot. And he's like, hey, get over it. We are where we are now. Let's move forward. We think that we're in a strong position moving forward as a conference. And I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with that assertion, but I do understand. I fully understand and can get behind it is what it is. No point in crying over spilled milk. That's something that I live by in life. So I'm not going to judge Jim Phillips for using that kind of method here. I would say in the future, you need to be cutting better deals. We need to learn from this deal. We need to learn from the leverage or lack thereof that caused you to have to capitulate to everything that Florida State and Clemson wanted. But, I mean, other than that, I actually kind of agree and like, hey, move on. It happened.
Yeah, I can understand where he's coming from to a degree. I was also in the same breath kind of rubbed the wrong way in the fashion in which he talks about the ACC comparatively to the SEC. Because we know how the SEC gets down, and Greg Sankey will live, breathe, and die with that Southeastern Conference. But Jim Phillips, when he talks about the ACC somewhat comparatively in the way that they really don't get the kind of love that they probably should at least, or at least deserve on a minimal level from ESPN, what he had to say was essentially, well, the ACC hasn't really done their job. We had a very poor postseason showing in college football last season, and if the ACC wants more respect, we got to do our part. Give me your thoughts on that, Kenton.
Here's my deal with that. I get where you're going, but at the same time, how can they garner that respect? How can they get that respect if you're not putting them in prime time?
Yes.
Prime time is called prime time for a reason. For those of you who don't know, that is, let's separate those two, right? What does it mean to prime something, Grayson? It means to get it ready, to prepare it. So you put together time in that phrase. You are using this as the time that is most optimal or ready for something to happen. If you are specifically putting other people in prime time, the time in which you're most likely to get viewers, how do you expect ACC to win? We are looking at a situation where the SEC is getting prime time and we're getting the CW. Hey, I love some NC State CW magic. Don't get me the line saying I don't. Love it. Love that. Give me more of it. But give me some of that in prime time on ESPN. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, I think a big gripe and a righteous gripe that a lot of ACC fans have is that we don't really feel like we're supported by our own commissioner a lot of the times. He's kind of comparing us to the Big Ten and comparing us to the SEC and saying, well, guys, if we want to be like them, we got to try and actually get like them. But it's like, but you're the guy that's supposed to be riding for all of us. You're the guy that's supposed to be in those rooms and fight for every team in this conference. And I don't know, it never really gives that feeling that we're all kind of looking around and waiting to hear about. So I have some gripes there. Pushing this forward, Jim Phillips also mentioned, and this is a quote from Andrea Adelson of ESPN, that availability reports will now be required in football, men and women's basketball, and baseball for conference games. So in football, for example, the reports will be issued 2 days before kickoff, with updates 1 day before and on game day. Now, the reason I want to bring this up is because historically, Coach Dave Dorn he likes to keep his cards a little close to his chest. And we saw this as recently as last year. There were weeks gone by where we didn't know if we were going to see Grayson McCall come back and play quarterback again. Caden Fordham, before that announcement about his knee injury had come out, the whole week, silence. And then we're getting right up to kickoff. It's like, he has a torn ACL? Why does nobody know about this yet? So, Kenton, I want to get your thoughts on the way that this is now shifting, that you have to be a little bit more transparent about the availability of your players.
Hey, Grayson, you may have the listeners of Locked On Wolfpack fooled. Have the listeners of Locked On ACC fooled. You cannot trick me. That degenerate in you're talking, ain't it? It's that piece of you that wants parts of Locked On Bets with Lee Sterling. Shout out to Lee.
Shout out Lee. Shout out Lee.
Shout out Lee. It's that part of you that's knowing, well, wait a minute, this is going to affect the lines. But I will say this. If betting is going to be as ubiquitous as it is, if it is going to be as meaningful of a part of the game as it is, then I think that it's downright deceitful and even, I would say, a little bit morally wrong to withhold this information that could cost people hundreds or thousands of dollars. Now, obviously, I always tell everybody, bet responsibly. Don't bet your rent or anything like that. Don't bet your mortgage. Don't bet your car note, anything you can't afford to lose. But the reality is, even if people are just doing it with their beer money and their candy money, it still is not, I don't think it's right to withhold this information to give yourself a potential competitive advantage over your opponent to the detriment of people who would be putting something on a game. Again, and I'm saying that as somebody who does not bet. Right. Greg will be the first person to tell you, after they gave us that little free $15 from, what was it, FanDuel or something like that? After that 15, the prospects was gone, I was like, all right, that's it for me. Y'all got me. That's it. You know, so I look at this and I say it is good from that perspective. And, you know, it's good to always allow the public to have more information in general, so long as it's not something that is, you know, supposed to be a secret or supposed to be kept extremely close to the vest, like a game plan or something like that. So I really don't have too much of a problem with that.
I couldn't help but feel like this shift of a rule, it was in large part because of the way sports betting is now embedded in our sports society. It just kind of is what it is. And yes, Kenton kind of put me on blast, but I'll always be the first to tell you, I love a friendly wager. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm purely doing it for the fun. It's fun to me. I like to anticipate and predict the outcomes of games. So for me, as someone that likes to do that, maybe those of you listening, you like to do the same, a little bit more transparency about the availability of players. It means something to me. I like the way that they're laying that down. From a coaching standpoint, I would understand being a little bit irritated because however large or small you think the gamesmanship is from that, you know, not exactly showing all of your cards, there's an element of truth to that. You know, at the end of the day, does it make a gigantic difference on the field? No. Most likely not. But I can understand why they're doing this for society. I mean, let's be honest, that's where we're at nowadays. And I can also understand doing this in the art of transparency and keeping everything above board, not being deceitful for other coaches, other players, other conferences, you name it. So I thought that was a very interesting shift as well. And the last thing I'll mention here, this is relatively small potatoes. Jim Phillips also noted that the events of storming the field and or the court, the fine system they're laying out. So the first offense for a school will be $50,000, second will be $100,000, and third offense will be $200,000, big ones, $200K. Kenton, give me your thoughts on the way they're laying this out. And other conferences do this as well. It's not just an ACC thing, but give us your thoughts on, I guess, the ACC kind of following suit and being a relative no-fun league.
One of the more important parts of this thing that a lot of people are missing is that this spans over 2 years.
Correct.
So let's just say, you know, we see NC State win a game against Clemson in 2025. You cannot have any more court stormers or anything like that unless you're ready to pay up $100,000 until 2027.
Correct.
That's what we're looking at here. That is the very real reality of what this setup is. And I understand it from a player safety aspect. I really and truly do. I personally am opposed to, you know, field storming and all that and court storming. Although I understand the fan perspective of it, having been a player myself, I fully get how, you know, if somebody's storming a field or a court, that just means that you lost. a big game, or somebody lost a big game to either a rival or a team that was deemed by far inferior to them.
Right.
When that happens, the last thing you want to do is have some drunk person in your face, even sober. You don't want anybody in your face waving the camera around saying, oh, you just got owned. You just got, and it's like, okay, I get it. And mind you, that's a mild version because we have seen things, get a little bit more out of hand than that. And it's not about planning for the best case scenario. It's always about planning for the worst. You don't want to plan these things and come up with these rules for, 99% of the time, nothing happens, because if you're looking at the 1%, it still matters. That's still somebody's child. That's still somebody's, brother, sister, cousin, uncle. That's still somebody that is now hurt or impacted by this, instead of saying, hey, I get it. It is a no fun league type of thing. But people have shown an inability to kind of be normal about this. And as Coach Doran says all the time, abuse leads to restriction. When you were a kid in elementary school, you remember that one kid, the teacher said, if everybody's good, you get a pizza party. And then that one kid is sitting there making a grinding beat on the desk. And it's yeah, of course it's you. That one kid is up there telling jokes that nobody's laughing at, but it's like, hey, shut up. But he keeps doing it. And you get the whole pizza party taken away. That's the reality. Somebody or somebodies have been those people to get in folks' faces and do all that, and now they've got everybody's pizza party canceled.
Somebody's always got to ruin it for the betterment of the class or group, you name it. So I get it. I mean, I get you need to have player safety and coach safety at the forefront of any of these types of scenarios. Now, I am extremely pro fun. I want fun. I like fun things. I like storming the field. I like storming the court. I guess from like an NC State lens, there's only so many times that we've gotten to experience something like that in the last handful of years. And like Kenta was telling you, it's because you won a really big game. Like if NC State's winning 3 different really big games that warrant a celebration as that one, that's something you should be excited about. And the fines and the player safety, yes, I get it. That's never going to be not a part of the way this thing shakes out. But for me, pro fun, it's worth it. If I'm NC State and I beat Clemson at home, they want to storm the field, worth it. If like Notre Dame comes to town, you beat Notre Dame and Carter Finley, in my mind, worth it. If everyone's safe, of course, because like Kenta was telling you, all it takes is that one Yahoo. All of a sudden, it's not worth it. And so that's why these rules are now in place. But thought that was interesting. Just rounding out some quick thoughts from Jim Phillips this morning. Day 1 of ACC Kickoff. Of course, NC State will be coming up on Thursday. Now getting into some more NC State discussion. Coming up, Wesley Grimes is apparently the Flash now. We're going to talk about what this means after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Tuesday sponsor is Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to the ball game with the friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize that you want to be in the stands. That's actually where Gametime comes into play for you. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without all the last-minute stress. With all the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes all of that possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. The prices on the app will actually go down the closer you get to first pitch or tip-off, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes all the worry out of buying. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, and it's making it easy to browse the app for any exciting upcoming baseball game. The seat views right in the app before you buy will show you exactly where you'll be seated and what to expect when you arrive at the ballpark. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. As always, terms apply. And again, create an account, use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Middle portion of our Tuesday show, I saw a tweet, and it comes from Noah Fleischman of On3 and the Wolfpacker. It dealt out some time, some electronic 40 times, run by the quickest of the NC State football players for this coming fall. Wesley Grimes was reportedly the fastest of anyone on the team, and he ran a 4.2440. 4.2. He ran a what? A 4.24 40. Kenton, is this real?
It's possible. It's possible that it's real. It's very possible. And let me explain to you why. A lot of people don't understand that there's a difference between 40 speed, track speed, and functional football speed, right? We know what functional 4.2 speed looks like on the field. If you don't, look up Chris Johnson highlights. Look up Tyreek Hill early in his career. That's what functional 4.2 looks like, okay? But we've also seen guys who run that fast when they're in shorts and T-shirts, but when you put them in pads, it's a different story. And also, Wesley Grimes is a big play machine. You know, we specifically, he put over his highlights last year, somebody on this show's voice saying, hey, he's a walking big play waiting to happen. So, and I stand by that, by the way, not just because I want another edit made, shout out to Wesley Company, but in all seriousness, he is that. He is a big play waiting to happen, and that doesn't happen without speed. A big play waiting to happen at wide receiver means you're making the fastest guys on the field look slow. Like, that's just what it is. Either you have some phenomenal technique a la a Keenan Jackson, who a guy that just understands the position of receiver at an extremely high level, or you are a Wesley Grimes, a guy that knows how to separate with his speed. And I do think that Wesley Grimes, I wouldn't have been surprised by about 4.4, maybe high 4.3 type of space because of how fast he looks on tape. But a 4.24, that is exceptional even for Wesley.
Would that not be like the fourth or fifth fastest time ever at the NFL Draft Combine? I think it'd be in that conversation.
Yes.
And so in that instance, I was kind of shocked. It took me a second to process. Surely this is a typo, right? Or were they doing it by stopwatch? Was it not lasered? Come to understand that they do use these lasers. The NC State equipment team, they are using lasers. So a 4.24 laser is legit one way or another. Now, I think Kenton laid it out extremely nice in that the difference between being in a short T-shirts and full pads is pretty vast. You're not going to see Wesley per se run a 4.24 on a fly route and CJ Bailey's going to pick over the top. Yeah. First to tell you, two biggest fans of that exact play will be right here on this podcast. You'll never hear us complain about that, but it's not quite the same. I wouldn't say let me put it to you this way. I don't necessarily doubt that Wesley Grimes ran a 4.24, but I don't think he's a 4.24 wide receiver, if that makes sense. This is not like a consistent. I wouldn't exactly anticipate him going to the NFL Draft Combine next year and running the fourth or fifth fastest time in NFL Draft Combine history. Now, again, if that happens, two biggest fans right here. We love Wesley Grimes, and in fact, we want a lot more of him in 2025, but I was shocked by that. I want to bring up the rest of the tweet from Noah Fleischman because there's some other times that pique some interest as well. So on here, you do see Wesley Grimes at the top, a 4.24. Number 3, Jonathan Paylor. And we literally just spoke about Jonathan Paylor at the end of last week. He ran a 4.39. Now, Kenton, just kind of reemphasizing something that we talked about last week. If y'all don't get this man on the field, get him the rock, get him open space, widen him up and watch him go.
The payday package needs to be a part of this offense. Okay? Again, you can take it. You can take the name. You don't even got to call it the payday package. I don't care what you call it. I don't care if you call it the Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs package. I need to see the ball in Jonathan Paylor's hands in a meaningful way this season.
Yeah, couldn't have said it any better myself. I mean, that is literally proof in the pudding that he is one of your most dynamic, explosive athletes you have on the roster, and you have to have that on the field. You cannot afford to have a kid that runs a 4.39 and him not see the field as much as, at least we hope that he does this fall. So I thought that was fascinating to say the very least. You see there in the 5 spot, a tie between corners Brian Nelson and Jackson Vick, both running a 4.41. Kenton, do we think the defense might be a little bit more fleet of foot than maybe we were expecting?
That's very possible. That's very possible. And the biggest thing that I keep wanting to know is just how this defense will fare overall. To me, speed kills. Speed is great. Don't get me wrong. But you and I have both seen plenty of cornerbacks, plenty of safeties that run really fast, and yet they continue to look at the back of receivers' heads like a good barber, right? It's really a moot point if you're not following your technique. But this could be a very fast defense.
And then last thing, any guesses? You want to take a guess at who you think that 2 spot is? Who ran a 4.35?
I want to say, give me Hollywood Smothers or Duke Scott.
I was going to say, I'll tell you who I hope it is. I hope it is one of those 2 names. You need your running back because that's something we've missed for quite a while as well. Matt Days used to get busy, but I don't know if we've had a running back, I guess, like as fast. Maybe, okay, Nyheim Hines would be an easy answer for that, but we've missed that home run speed. Hollywood Smothers, we know he has it because we saw it on multiple occasions last year. Very intrigued to see if Duke Scott also has it. He's going to be RB2 this year. He's going to be thrust into a larger role. We've all kind of heard some things behind the scenes about what the staff kind of views him as and what they think that he can be. If that's Duke Scott running a 4.35, we better see a whole lot of him this year as well. Maybe we all want Hollywood Smothers to be the bell cow back, but if you have a kid running a 4.35 behind him, I wouldn't exactly be mad at splitting carries, so to speak. I mean, we still need to see Hollywood for the majority of the time, but a 4.35, that is also very real speed. So we've heard a lot from Coach Thunder over the last couple of years talk about how fast the team can be. And I remember him raving about Peyton Wilson back in 2023, ran his fastest 40 time ever back then. And I mean, that worked out well for him. If Thunder's getting these guys revved up and ready to go, and you're seeing a Wesley Grimes running possibly a 4.3 or a 4.4 in pads, that might change the offense this year. And we're looking for more points, more yards, more everything from a re-energized offense. If you got a couple of burners back there in the backfield, you might see some magic posted up on that scoreboard.
Absolutely. If Wesley Grimes can run that type of time in pads, if he looks like a 4.2 player in pads, that changes the entire dynamic of this offense. You now have to lighten your box up because you have to leave the safety over the top. You cannot not have a safety over the top of a guy that runs a 4.24. That's insane. Especially in college football, there is no way unless he is getting jammed to the high heavens.
We've talked a lot about the dynamic of trying to defend a Hollywood Smothers and a Justin Jolie and a Noah Rogers. If you're throwing a Wesley Grimes in this mix who runs that well, who's running a 4.340, so to speak, again, that changes the math a very good bit. So NC State might be having a lot more speed than maybe all of us were expecting to enter this 2025 season with. Certainly something to monitor, and if we will see it on night 1 against the ECU Pirates to open the season. Coming up next, we're talking a little bit more about ACC Kickoff. Of course, NC State will be on Thursday. We know who's going to be there for the Wolfpack, but what are we expecting to hear from them when the time comes? More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Tuesday sponsor is Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing your money just felt a little bit easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in just one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. Do you ever wish you had all of your accounts and spending in just one singular place? Welcome to Monarch. That's exactly what they provide you. Peace and simplicity, and everything you need is right in front of you in just one spot. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's Monarch like the butterfly, money like the money, monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for 50% off of your first year. Only on Monarch Money. Last couple of minutes of our Tuesday show. As said before, Kenton is down in Charlotte for ACC Kickoff. I will join him on Thursday for NC State's portion of the week. But Kenton, you were down there, of course, all day on Tuesday. You'll be there on Wednesday. So you've heard some of the things that the other team's players and Commissioner Jim Phillips have had to say. NC State's going to be bringing Justin Jolie, CJ Bailey, Caden Fordham, and Brandon Cleveland. What are some of the types of things you're looking to hear from the 4 guys we got?
You know, honestly, I just want to hear them be themselves. You know, it's ACC Media Days. Everybody's 0-0, and hope floats eternal right now. Everybody's super hopeful about their season. I'll give you a prime example. Multiple guys from UVA today mentioned they can win a championship this year. I'm going to let that sit where it is.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Don't get me wrong. Coach Elliott has won more conference games every single year that he's been head coach. However, the numbers increased by one every year, and he started off with one conference win. So it went from 1 conference wins to 2 to 3 last year. And yet championships were what they were talking about. And that's not in the front of these players. It's not to say, oh, they're delusional, they're insane, whatever the case may be. I'm saying just be yourself. Say whatever comes from the heart. If you believe that you can win a championship, if you believe you can have a 15-sack season, if you believe you can have a 30-touchdown season, say it. Let's feel it out.
Perhaps they could be the champions of the state of Virginia, but again, I'll leave that there for now. The biggest thing for me is how you recover from what was, all in all, a very disappointing season. I want to hear about the confidence level of the guys at the end of last year, going into spring ball, now through the summer, what the vibe is. Like, what do they want to be as a team? How do you recover from championship aspirations last year in 24 to kind of falling a little bit flat on your face at the end of 24? How do you get it going again in 25? How do you reignite the energy and the confidence in one another? That's another thing. I want to hear about the confidence that all the younger guys still have in CJ Bailey and a guy like Justin Jolie, the confidence in his quarterback who had to learn on the fly. Now he's kind of a revamped CJ Bailey here in his sophomore season. I want to know what the gut check feeling is on that, what they really, truly feel about what they can be in 2025.
Yeah, that's absolutely something to be considered. And also, I want to hear how Doran's feeling after a year that was supposed to be his year.
I don't know if he'll give you much, but yes.
But let's be honest. Have the expectations ever been higher for Doran than they were last year?
No.
Even when Devin Leary was coming in as the ACC preseason player of the year, we were saying there's a chance that we get to Charlotte. This last year, it was like, oh, this is foregone. We can do this. This is the year to make it happen. Everybody knew there will be an NC State team in the ACC championship. Lo and behold, we had the wrong sport all along. But, you know, it kind of shook out that way. So, I mean, it's how do you bounce back from that level of disappointment? How do you not crawl up in the shell as a coach and all of a sudden get even more conservative and even more defensive after kind of having that situation?
I'll also be interested to see if Coach Doran will talk or at least shed any light on the expectations, because we know about him. Whenever his teams have high expectations, it hasn't quite worked out for the best. But when there's little to relatively zero expectations, you've seen them hit that 8-9 win threshold actually on multiple occasions. So I'll be very intrigued to see if he'll shed any light on a 6.5 over under for this year, and maybe how he thinks his team's being disrespected, or maybe he thinks that's on the money, especially coming out of last year. I hope that he'll be transparent enough to tell us how he's thinking on that. But yeah, that'll do it for us here on Tuesday. Extremely busy week for the two of us. ACC kickoff is here, which means football is very closely behind. Kenton will be down there all week. I'll join him on Thursday for NC State's portion. That'll do it for us here on Tuesday. As always, hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Wednesday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.